The first time he looked at me, it was as if I had stolen something from him. The second time I realized was ready to fight to take it back. The sea wind was biting that evening, cutting through my hoodie like cold knives. I had come aboard the naval vessel only to drop off a package for my best friend's older brother, Captain Adrian Kane, the alpha everyone in the harbor spoke about in half awe, half fear. It wasn't supposed to be more than a 5-minute errand. Quick handshake, polite thank you, and then I'd be gone. But fate has a way of rearranging lives when you least expect it. The first obstacle was his younger brother, Ethan Kane. Sharp-jawed, broad-shouldered, with that same steel-blue gaze as Adrian, Ethan looked at me like I had committed a crime the moment our eyes met. I thought it was just the chill in the air making me shiver. I didn't know it was the start of something that would tangle my every step from then on. "Who are you?" His voice was low, accusatory, as though I'd snuck onto the ship without clearance. "Ryan," I answered, tightening my grip on the package. "I'm just here to see Captain Kane." "Why?" His eyes narrowed. The way he said it made me feel as if I were carrying contraband instead of a brown paper-wrapped parcel. "He asked me to bring this." For a moment Ethan said nothing. Then his lips twisted not in amusement, but in something darker. "You're him, aren't you?" I blinked. "Him? The Omega my brother's been spending time with." He didn't ask. He stated it like a fact, one that left me frozen in place. I wanted to correct him. I wanted to say he had the wrong person. That Captain Kane and I barely knew each other. But before I could open my mouth, footsteps approached from behind, and there was Adrian himself, tall, self-assured, radiating an alpha's natural dominance without even trying. "Ryan," Adrian said, his tone warmer than I'd expected. His hand landed on my shoulder, steady and certain. "Glad you made it. The thing about rumors is they don't need much to grow." By the time Adrian took the package from me and led me below deck for tea, Ethan's eyes were already burning holes into my back. And by the next morning, I learned that the Kane brothers were not just family, they were rivals in ways that went deeper than I could imagine. Days passed. Adrian treated me with quiet kindness, never crossing a line, though the way he looked at me sometimes made my pulse stumble. I told myself I was imagining it, that I didn't belong in his world of crisp uniforms, strict codes, and iron-willed leadership. But Ethan didn't see me as a passerby. He saw me as a threat, or maybe a prize. He started appearing wherever I was, in the harbor cafe, on the dockside market, even in the narrow street outside my apartment. At first, his presence was unnerving. Then it became something else. A challenge. A pull. One rainy night, I found him leaning against the wall outside my building, rain dripping from his hair. "You should stay away from my brother," he said, his voice tight. "Why do you care?" I asked, stepping past him toward the door. He caught my wrist, not hard, but enough to make me stop. "Because," he said, his gaze fierce, "you're not his. You were never meant to be his." I yanked free, my chest tight with something I couldn't name. "And you think I'm meant to be yours?" His jaw clenched. "I know you are." The audacity of it should have made me angry. It did, but it also left me awake that night, staring at the ceiling, hearing his words over and over. The tension between the brothers deepened. Adrian, unaware of Ethan's claims, began inviting me to more ship events, always protective, always kind. Ethan, on the other hand, began acting less like a jealous sibling and more like an alpha who had decided I was already his. It all came to a breaking point during the harbor festival. The ship deck was lit with lanterns, music spilled over the water, and people laughed and danced beneath the fireworks. I had just turned away from the railing when I felt someone's hand at the small of my back warm. Steady. Ethan. He stood close enough that I could smell the faint salt of the sea on his skin. "You're making a mistake," he murmured. I tried to step back, but his hand stayed where it was. "I'm here as Adrian's guest," I said quietly. "Exactly," he replied, his gaze locking with mine. "You're here because of him, but you're looking at me like you wish it were different." And maybe I was. Maybe somewhere between the arguments, the stolen glances, and the rain-soaked nights, I had started wondering what it would be like to choose him. The fireworks cracked above us, and for a moment, neither of us moved. The noise, the light, the world itself seemed to pause. Then Adrian's voice called my name, and Ethan's hand slipped away, but not before his thumb brushed my spine in a way that felt like a promise. I didn't sleep that night, and I knew whatever was coming next would change everything. The days after the Harbor Festival were a storm I couldn't escape. Adrian's presence was steady, like the tide, calm, dependable, protective. Ethan's was the opposite, wild, unpredictable, like a wave that could drag me under at any moment. And I was caught somewhere in between. My heart tugged in two directions I didn't know how to reconcile. Adrian invited me to dinner one night, the kind where the table was set with white linen and the wine glasses caught the glow of the cabin lights. We talked about small things, books, the city, the weather, but I could see something heavier in his eyes, something he wasn't saying. I don't usually bring civilians into my world, Adrian admitted, his fingers tapping lightly against the glass. But you, Ryan, you feel different. I want to make sure you're safe. Safe. The word should have warmed me. Instead, it reminded me of Ethan's voice, rough and certain, saying I was meant to be his. That same night, Ethan showed up outside my apartment again. He didn't knock, he just waited, leaning against the lamppost like the shadows belonged to him. You went to dinner with him, he said when I stepped outside. I folded my arms. It's none of your business. It's entirely my business, he countered, stepping closer. You think Adrian sees you? He sees what he wants you to be. I see you, all of you, and I'm not letting you go. There was a weight in his voice I couldn't ignore. You're his brother? I said, my voice trembling despite myself. Do you have any idea what you're doing? Yes, he said, and then softer. I'm doing what I should have done the moment I saw you. The next morning, the truth came crashing down in a way I never saw coming. Adrian called me to his cabin, his jaw tight, his uniform crisp as always. Ethan was already there, leaning against the wall with his arms crossed. Adrian's gaze flicked between us. I hear you've been seeing my brother. The silence was a knife. I could feel both of their eyes on me, waiting. My voice cracked. I didn't mean for this to happen. Adrian exhaled slowly, as if trying to hold back the swell of something painful. Ethan, you've crossed a line. Ethan pushed off the wall, his expression defiant. The only line I crossed was the one you drew to keep something that was never yours. It hit me then, this wasn't just about me. It was years of rivalry, of unspoken resentment, of two alphas who had always wanted what the other had. The argument that followed was sharp and fast, words like shrapnel flying between them. I stood there, feeling the weight of every choice I hadn't made yet pressing down on me. And then, without thinking, I said the only thing that felt true. I can't be a trophy for either of you. My voice shook, but I didn't look away. I'm not something to be claimed. If I stay, it's because I choose to freely. The room went still. Adrian looked at me, the steel in his eyes softening into something almost tender. Then choose, Ryan. Ethan's gaze burned into mine. Choose me. It should have been impossible choosing between safety and fire, between steady hands and reckless passion. But in that moment I knew. I turned to Ethan. You've been a storm in my life since the second we met. And maybe I need that. Maybe I need someone who sees me without asking me to change. Ethan's expression shifted, the fierce alpha replaced by something raw, unguarded. He stepped forward, his hand finding mine, not pulling, not claiming, just holding. Adrian didn't move for a long time. Then, with a quiet nod, he stepped aside. Take care of him, Ethan. And just like that, the storm inside me broke. Weeks later, we stood together on the ship's deck, the ocean stretching endless before us. Ethan's arm was around my waist, his chin resting on my shoulder, his warmth anchoring me against the cool sea breeze. You sure you don't regret it? He murmured. I smiled, leaning back into him. Not even for a second. The ship moved forward, cutting through the waves, and for the first time in months, I felt like I was exactly where I was meant to be, right in the middle of the storm, with the one who refused to let me go. Thank you for listening. If you find it interesting, please like and subscribe to follow the next stories.